technology giant Olivetti.
We were lucky that we had the chassis available in early January, being able to secure Elliott Forbes Robinson as one of our drivers. Testing in conjunction with Porsche, it just made a whole heap of difference to the beginning of the season.
We're trying a lot of different stuff with the car right now to learn more about it because we haven't had the time we need, but I think the car is a contender.
Elliott Forbes Robinson still with a great run in that Porsche. Can he hold out? Well, we'll see when we come back for more of the Mercourt Classic.
Remember last year when XR4 Ti led Lincoln Mercury to its third straight championship? Well, to all of you still haunted by that performance, we have some bad news. We're back. XR4 Ti, imported from Germany for Lincoln Mercury division.
We're back at Sears Point International Raceway, awaiting the restart here, and in fact coming up on the restart after that hard crash that brought us under yellow. The track has been cleared up. You see the pace car there leading Elliott Forbes Robinson. And wait a minute, Elliott Forbes Robinson is slowing dramatically. In fact, has stopped on the racetrack. Scott Pruitt drives around, some confusion behind him as the Porsche 944, David, just comes to a halt.
Well, that's the easiest pass that Scott Pruitt's going to make today, that's for sure. Goodness knows what's gone wrong with Elliott's car. I mean, obviously there's no telling at this stage, but obviously it has stopped, and obviously it has bust.
So many times you see under yellow, the cars idle around, they don't come back up to speed. Let's see if we can find out anything about what's happened with Bob Varsha.
Max Crawford is team manager for the Jenner Racing team. Max, what have you heard from EFR about the car?
Nothing so far. All we know is that he pulled off course on turn 3 and he's got out of the car, so I don't know anything else, unfortunately.
Do you have anything earlier in this race that's been able to speculate? He hasn't told you about any problem with the car up to this point?
Nothing at all so far, unfortunately.
Okay, a big mystery on Elliott Forbes Robinson's dropping out of the race early on.
Well, that's a tough break for Elliott Forbes Robinson. He drops out of the race. Scott Pruitt now on the point. Pete Halsmer in second place. Les Lindley, the independent, has moved into third place with Chris Neifel up into fourth and Larry Park rounding out the top 5. They're getting ready to restart, so right now let's go back upstairs to Dave Despain.
The challenge is gone as far as the Porsche is concerned. The story of the Mercury Mercours as they come back under green. Scott Pruitt gets a good jump. Halsmer did a little better job of anticipating the green that time and hangs right with his teammate. In the yellow Camaro, you see Les Lindley running third, and now Chris Neifel moving up into fourth spot. And you get a real sense there of how serpentine this racetrack really is, David. I'm impressed with the fact, especially during your course description early, you are constantly turning here.
Yeah, you never ought to rest here. That picture, and even this picture, really does not do justice to the elevation change on this circuit as well. I mean, there we go up there, come over the crest, and now this is quite a steep downhill left-hand turn. And so all those rises and raises and lowering of the level, as it were, makes life very difficult on this tight course.
Right now we see that life becoming a little difficult for Les Lindley because number 72, Chris Neifel, has closed in on him. Neifel seems to have really come to life here during that yellow. Whoa, Lindley gets up and gives Halsmer a little tap there as if to say, hey, we don't care about your high-tech turbos. These old Chevy V8s will still get the job done. He gave Halsmer a pretty good push.
It looked like it, and suddenly it looks like they're giving Les Lindley a bit of a push in the back. If you look at the back of his car, Neifel really giving him a run now as they come down to these fast bends.
This is good racing. When you're running in a pack like this, David, on a road race course, and especially a tight course like this, where do you focus your concentration? Can you be thinking about the guys around you?
Well, the only place you can really focus your concentration is on the guy in front, and Neifel's just done that to Lindley and slipped down the inside at turn 11 now, as we saw Pruitt do earlier on. A good pass there by Chris Neifel. Tremendous pass. Lindley having another go, pulls up alongside, but Neifel's really got the line as they sweep into this very fast, long left-handed turn 1.
Neifel really on the charge here. He has come to life. He's setting after the leaders. The Mercury Mercours run 1-2 in their own race here. But this Pontiac Trans Am definitely in the thick of it. Now, you'll recognize those colors. The car painted identically to the Porsche 944 of Elliott Forbes Robinson that led the race and then blew up just at the tail end of that last yellow. Well, this is the team car. It's the third car in the team, owned by New Zealander Bruce Jenner. And it is, in fact, the leftover car. The new tech for them is Porsche 944. This is the Trans Am car that they ran last year. And he's giving those Mercours up front a pretty good run for his money. I asked him how he feels about running what is, in effect, a used car here in this series.
Oh, really, the the biggest thing is technology. It's not that a normally aspirated car is an old slug per se, but technology. This is 1987, and the cars to beat are the Mercurs and the 944 Turbo, and it's just the cars are smaller, they're more nimble, they most likely have more horsepower, they stop better, they handle better, and it's you can drive a little bit more aggressively with the car.
Well, I think Pontiac are going to send Chris Kneifel a check for calling their car a slug then, but it looks at the moment as if he's slugging it right past the Mercur of Pete Halsmer, making another great pass on that turbo car, that turbo Mercur, getting well and truly passed by Kneifel as they come into the pit area.
And I would say he is driving it as aggressively as anyone could hope for. He is whipping that car up through the field. He's come from 4th to run 2nd, and he's now sandwiched between the two Mercury Mercurs. And that is definitely a good run, keeping alive the hopes of the team that lost its front runner here when Elliott Forbes Robinson blew up. Let's find out what happened to him with Bob Varsha.
Well, Elliott Forbes Robinson just made one of the longest walks in motorsports in from turn 3. What happened, Elliott?
Don't exactly know, Bob. I was driving up there into the pace laps and pulled up behind the pace car, and something electrical stopped. The motor wouldn't run. I tried everything in different positions and all the switches, and it wouldn't restart. Ended up having to get out and walk back.
Not a hint of a problem earlier in the race, though?
No, the Olivetti car was just running super the whole race, and the Bruce Jenner guys have done such a good job. You know, the car is good, but nothing, absolutely nothing. I was going as fast as I could and still saved the tires, and felt the race was in really good shape when it happened, so we don't know.
Tough luck for EFR. Back to you, Dave.
Well, one of those teething problems we talked about earlier, but that team is definitely showing its prowess, and that car is definitely making an impression on this series. But right now, the impression is being made by EFR's teammates. Chasing after the leader, Scott Pruitt, we find the number 72 of Chris Kneifel all over this racetrack.
Oh! And there's somebody else all over the racetrack. That's number 76. That's
Bobby Bondurant, I believe.
Bondurant, yeah.
Yeah, and he's on his roof in a scary moment here. Bondurant, who is the son of the resident driving instructor. The famed Bob Bondurant Driving School is headquartered right here at this racetrack. And Bobby Bondurant, his young son, got out of shape. We see fuel leaking out of the car. The wheels are still turning. He's apparently still trying to keep the thing going. He may have hit his head pretty good there.
Marshall just knocked on the door to see if anyone was in there, but we obviously know there is some. It looks like the engine's still going as well, the way the rear wheels are just lurching around there. I must say that nobody seems to be doing much about it. That was a very violent accident for a relatively slow part of the track. That was just coming off the hairpin at 7.
The leaders, meanwhile, are racing at speed. In this form of competition, the typical situation is a yellow at the site of the incident. And we're going to try to get another look at that incident and see if we can figure out what happened to Bobby Bondurant. Out of the outside of the corner and just got her sideways, and it went airborne.
It looks like car number 87, as they came out of the corner, it looks like car number 87 may have just got itself under the inside of his car and lifted it up, and then he hit the curb on the outside, and that just flipped it right over. But what an incredibly violent crash for such a low-speed turn.
Of course, once it's on its top, the car doesn't stop very well because of the there's no traction there.
No, the brakes are up in the air, you see,
Here's
and the roof is on the ground, so they don't stop very well.
Peter Dews there, the other car you mentioned, and he is indeed disabled as well. But the good news is Bobby Bondurant has climbed out, appears to be a little shaken, but otherwise okay after a wild, violent crash here. Bondurant is fine. The yellow flag will fly, and we'll be back to see if Chris Kneifel can getting ready to go back to green. But wait a minute, somebody's not doing the wiggle. That looks like Pete Halsmer headed for pit road, and what would be a very untimely pit stop here, David.
You certainly could. It sounds a bit rattly, too, as he pulls that car into pit lane. What a crummy time for something to go wrong. The second car we've seen not make a restart. There we see the now leader, Scott Pruitt, closely shadowed by Chris Kneifel, as they go past their signaling boards and past the assembled crewmen, ready to take the green flag. The yellow flag comes in. They're under green again.
Chris Kneifel trying to get the jump, but it was Les Lindley in that orange Camaro who really closed it up pretty effectively there. Scott Pruitt hangs on to the lead that he held when they restarted the race. The last restart saw Elliott Forbes Robinson drop out. This time Pete Halsmer has gone to pit road, and it has certainly not been a good day for front runners.